now tuned in to the Cold Hard Truth, Cayman's #1 hard-hitting live podcast show, where we feature some straightforward conversations on political, social, and celebrity news and all things happening in the Cayman Islands and around the world. This show was created to give the people a voice and a means of being involved and informed without any filters. Sometimes it gets crazy, but we always keep it real. We bring you the tea, piping hot, so grab your favorite beverage and join the conversation via WhatsApp at 324-1612. Email tips@caymanmarlroad.com. Now, here's your host, Sandy Hill, broadcasting live from the beautiful Cayman Islands.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday, November the 24th. Where is my camera this morning? That's an awfully good question. Let me see if I can find it. How is everyone doing? Happy Tuesday, just a couple days before American Thanksgiving. So those of you who are in the US or who celebrate American Thanksgiving, oh, there we go. It would help if the lens cap was off, right? There we are. So you've got a couple more days to get ready for Thanksgiving. Of course, if you're in the States, they're pretty much telling you to not really travel and have a big Thanksgiving this year because of COVID. So, wow, kind of crazy. But you know what? You got to do what you got to do. So stay within your immediate families, have a lower, like a smaller event, a smaller scale. And yeah, I think that makes sense for most people to consider doing it that way. So good morning to Marshall. We'll talk a little bit later on in the week about what your Thanksgiving plans are. So make sure you tune in on Thursday for sure, because we will have a, here in the Cayman Islands, we celebrate it on December the 1st. but that's right around the corner as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about, that's a week from today, actually, about what we're thankful for. I think whenever it falls on a weekday, then we do it like it's the first Sunday in the month of December. So it'll probably be the 6th this year, because the first Sunday happens to be the 29th. So this morning we have quite a bit to discuss, folks. Lots of jackasses to highlight, which is shocking, but not so shocking. So we're going to talk about some of those this morning as well. And we've got a couple news tidbits here and there to discuss. I saw some people messaging me. There's quite a few accidents over the last couple of days. I don't know what's going on, but between the pretty serious one on West Bay Road over the weekend, and then yesterday, we had at least 2 that were noteworthy. One, in fact, quite ironically enough, was a 4-car accident. So it was like one person not paying attention, and then there was like this domino effect where they ran into one person and then somebody else rear-ended them, and it just continued on. And someone sent us some footage of that, so I'm going to share that if I can find it again this morning. Yeah, but that was a 4-car pileup, which isn't something you see every day. So yes, that was crazy. And then last night by the we call that what the kind of that cricket intersection, Bobby Thompson intersection, some people call it. There was another accident there as well last night that looked pretty serious. I mean, we got some video footage and some pictures of that also. And all I can tell you guys is you gotta pay attention on the roads, and you've got to really slow down. I mean, we're coming into the holiday season. I guess everyone is in a bit of a rush. I don't know where you're rushing to go, because my gosh, I always say this is an island. So how far can you go, really? But, it doesn't make any sense to try to get there 2 minutes earlier and then end up crashing. To me, that's like, kind of crazy. So yes, there was this 4-car pileup. I've got the video here that I'm going to show you guys in a second. And so I'm just kind of encouraging people to slow down, pay attention to where you're going, take it easy, and you'll still get there, but safely. So here is this one. Yeah, folks. So that is quite the pileup. Now, 4 people have to make claims on their insurance. And in that instance, I was told that it was, sort of the first person in the lineup, or I guess how would that have worked out? Well, whoever hit first, and then it was just like a domino effect. Everybody kept running into each other from there. So, yeah, it's crazy. It's really crazy. So, take your time, slow down, folks. Like I said, it just, now you got to look at trying to get vehicles repaired, and these things can cost money, and everybody is really tight for funds right now. So I would say that it doesn't make any sense, Now you're going to have a headache of trying to make insurance claims, pointing the finger at who started this fiasco and who is to blame. Yeah. So good morning, Olivia. Olivia's here for it. Good morning, Corrine. I have a new jingle that I'm trying to get done. for my morning greetings. I am working on something special for you guys. I think you're going to love it. Hi, Catherine and Miss Beulah. Siobhan, of course, is here for it. Dawn says, good sunny day to all. And Miss Sandy, thank you so much, Dawn. Nice to have you here. Melita, thank you for joining us. Magdalene is tagging Sheena. So I think Magdalene has something that she definitely wants Sheena to have a look at this morning. And it's probably one of her jackasses of the day. Good morning, Gadiel. I tell you what, I was a bit surprised that it was possible to have more than one jackass in a day. But then I thought about it and I said to myself, well, I suppose it's not entirely unheard of that jackasses are all over the place, apparently. So yes, we had the first time ever, I think, yesterday, when I say more than one, I mean like separate situations. We've had before during COVID, when the young ladies were all going to this house to get their hair done. They were all jackasses for doing that. So that was like a collective jackass alert. But in this particular case, this was like unrelated things. And we're going to talk about both of them this morning. One has to do with employment and government being really the jackass. And we're talking about what the outcome of that has been. But in addition to that, quite honestly, we've also had the issue of people breaching quarantine. And I'm so disappointed in this one. Like, I'm really, really like, oh my God, why? This one makes me mad more than anything else, because we worked so hard to get where we are, and for people to just discard that for absolutely no reason whatsoever, except selfishness. That's it. Really rubs me the wrong way. And so I do worry about, what the potential outcome will be for all of us because of people like this. And the sad thing is, if you think that these people are the exception, I'm not so sure that that's actually the case. And that's what worries me the most. So good morning to Andy. Thank you, Andy, for tuning in. Lulu's here for it. Beautiful Lulu. Atlas, good morning, all the way from the UK. Looks like Atlas wants to see my face. He's like, no video. What's going on? Good morning, Brandon. How you doing? I think somebody removed my good morning for my little automated soundboard here, but I got to find that again. Good morning to Larry as well. How you doing, Larry? I hope you guys are doing well. Kenneth Bryan is here for it. Good morning, Kenneth. So good to see you. We'll talk a little bit more about Kenneth later on in the show, because I'm sure that you guys saw that article that we did yesterday about a potential new, what would we call him? A potential new challenger for Kenneth Bryan. And I thought there was bits of it that were a little bit funny. And then, of course, the voice notes started coming out reminding me of this individual and a story that someone wanted me to run on him a long time ago, which I guess will be forthcoming. So Diana and Sue, so nice to see you guys. Good morning, Vanessa. Thank you so much. If you guys notice, I haven't really done anything with the eyes lately. Probably tomorrow or Thursday I will. Thursday, court is coming up, so mark your calendars. Evelyn, make sure I don't forget. I've got sentencing on Thursday, so I do not want to miss that for sure. Ruby, thank you. Ruby is watching us from Florida. Darlene tuned in from the UK. Darlene, by the way, I keep forgetting to message you on WhatsApp. Please message me about the donation for that young lady, if you're still able to assist her, because she was asking me about it last week. So I do want to get something sorted out for her. Totalani Sanjeep, good morning to you. I hope that you're well. I trust I pronounced that name correctly. Tracy is here for it. Paulette. Karen is asking about Jake. Yes, where is Jake? He must be working out hard because let me see here now. Jake, where are you? People missing you in the live stream. Let me just check in on him and make sure he's okay. You know, he got a promotion recently, so maybe they're really working him. John Wick is here. Love the name. John says, good morning, honey bunny. Good morning to you, John. Somehow I don't think that's really your name. Sue is here. Sue says the rich think they're privileged to do what they want so bad. All right, well, let's get into it, folks, because this does appear to be a situation of the more money you have sometimes, the less sense you may actually have, and the less you care about people. And that's quite unfortunate, I would say, because at the end of the day, COVID does not discriminate. So COVID doesn't really care how much money you have. You could still very much be a victim yourself. So you're being selfish. You think, oh, I'm young, I'm blonde, I'm beautiful, I'm rich, sort of. And so who cares? You know, COVID will spare me. So first up in the category of jackassery, good morning, Louis, by the way, 25 degrees Fahrenheit. Whoa. This is when I love the Cayman Islands a little bit extra more, totally not a correct use of the English language there, but here we go. First set of jackasses happen to be very good looking people who claim that they have a lot of money. We know at least that they have a home here. Someone was asking me about their immigration status. And, you know, I don't know what it is, but I'm sure, knowing the type of people they are, that they will certainly be milking us for everything that they can possibly get. And I'm sure, given the type of fools that we are probably fully complying without any backlash, because these people seem to really take things to the next level. So let's talk about it, shall we? So this is, in case you missed our Jackass story last night, this is Dr. Let me try to pronounce his name correctly, because his name is quite interesting. This is Dr. Hold on, let me get the name. His name is Pascal Turjanian. He's from Montreal, Quebec. That's in Canada, in case you're wondering. French Canadians. She's actually from Lebanon, Beirut. So she's Lebanese. And her name is Christina. She's 34 years old. I have no idea how old he is. I think he's a little bit older, given his long and extensive history of infractions. And we'll talk about some of those that have been reported in other news media around the world, but in particular Canada. So this is the couple who have breached quarantine, not once, but numerous occasions. So let's break it down, because these people are bold. And this is what I'm telling you, folks. I mean, you've got someone here who decides to breach quarantine, not just on one occasion, but they came here, in my personal opinion, with the intent of breaking quarantine from the onset. And why do I say that? Well, I say that because of how this played out and what they actually did. So from the very beginning, it appears that their brace was never fitted correctly. Now, listen, I am going to give them and this government COVID team, whoever the heck they are, these members, equal awards for Jackass of the Day, because these persons should have never, ever been able to pull this off if our government workers who are out there, you know, fitting people with bracelets, giving them these expensive phones. We don't even know how much this system cost us. We asked the question and we've yet to get a response on the cost of this. Okay, Dr. Lee made this decision to purchase the system. And by the way, anybody else wondering where Dr. Lee is? Every single press release lately that has come out about, the COVID numbers has been coming out from Dr. Williams. Where is Dr. Lee? He's gone undercover after this whole doctor's hospital thing was divulged, where apparently it appears that somebody was hiding one of his emails that did not help their case, and in fact hurt their case severely when it came to this search warrant against Doctors Hospital. We're going to be talking about that in a couple days here, folks. Don't worry, I've not forgotten, and we're certainly not leaving that out of the mix. So yes, how do you fit a bracelet onto someone's elbow and giving them lots of room down at the bottom where they could apparently tamper with this bracelet easy enough and slide this bracelet off? So what they were doing is, because how it works is government gives them a phone and government gives them the bracelet. Now, I had thought, and this is very, very interesting, that government would have been permitting the application to be installed on their phones their own phones, as opposed to purchasing a phone. But no, honey child, we have so much money to waste in this country that we purchase smartphones just for this purpose, just to be tracking devices. And they're not even working. So I'm going to talk about that here in a second, because, the government is trying to fool people that we have spent all of this money and someone is justifying the cost of this project and how this is going to make sense. And this is going to allow us to reopen safely. And a case like this highlights how that is not really true, folks. And, there's no need for government to try to lie to us. We're not going to get through this situation with lies and cover-ups. We're going to get through it with the cold, hard truth. So knowing exactly what the position is how we are going to get through it. So someone decided to fit this couple with a less than well-fitted bracelet. Now, you guys have seen the bracelets because we did a whole story on them. They look like hospital bracelets. They look really thin and flimsy. There doesn't seem to be a whole lot of material that goes into these things, but they're supposed to be this great technological advance, right? So at the end of the day, they do have a microchip on the inside. And if you see from the pictures that we have shared previously, this bracelet, this is back in September, we did a whole story on the I Am Safe bracelet and how government is banking on technology to keep us safe. Well, listen to me, folks. It is not just technology that is required to keep us safe. It is a little bit of common sense as well. So, that hasn't happened. So when you fit a bracelet like this, I'm going to just pull up another photo of it in case you don't even remember what it looks like. It's been a minute. It makes sense that the bracelet would actually be fitted properly to your wrists, right? Not to your elbow. Listen, folks, the higher up the arm you go, the wrist is relatively small compared to like the forearm and the elbow region. So if someone is telling you to fit a bracelet to their elbow area, wise up, use a little bit of common sense. There's probably a really good reason why they're doing that. And I dare say it has nothing to do with the fact that they are trying to be honest people. You see how tightly this is fitted here? Right? There's no room on this guy for this to really be moved that far up the arm. This is a proper fit. You fit it any other way. You fit it up the elbow, up the arm. It just doesn't make any sense. So what we understand what's happening here is this couple was actually sliding them off, leaving them right next to the phone. Yep. Leaving them right next to the phone in the hotel room at the Regal Beach, and off they went. They had intentions, folks. It is hard to see how they did not have intentions to do this from the onset. And that's one of the indicators. Why would anyone fit it in such a manner? All right, so they get to the Regal Beach on West Bay Road. First thing they do the very first day is they jump out there and they're on their merry little way to already having a good time. So they have to go to the liquor store. Yeah, imagine that. Can't come to the Cayman Islands and not head to the liquor store immediately. Oh, they've got to start going grocery shopping, restaurants, for romantic strolls on the beach. Numerous times to the garbage bin. I don't know what they were producing in their room that they couldn't wait for the garbage, the cleaning crew to come and take it out. But trust me, these jokers were all over the place. Upwards of at least 15 times since the 13th of the month when they arrived from Miami from Canada via Miami. This is disturbing, folks. Because, these are the kind of people, let's be very, very honest, that if they're going to come into a situation like the Cayman Islands, know that they're in quarantine at a private facility, but private but public. So in other words, there are other people there quarantining as well. And they're going to take these type of risks. The security guard has at least spoken to them a handful of times, so he's been in contact with them, right? They're probably not the most cautious people when they're back in Canada, which is a much larger country with their own COVID issues. It's not like Canada is COVID free. So if they were doing all this in Cayman, what were they doing in Canada that could have potentially have been exposing them? Well, folks, Canada has over 338,000 cases, over 11,000 deaths. So again, it's not like Canada, we can say that, well, Canada doesn't have anything for us to worry about. Canada has had a lot of infections. You can go check out their outbreak map as of today. So I'm not too familiar with maps of Canada, to be honest. So let me see if I can figure out where the heck Quebec is on the map. So Saskatchewan, Alberta, British Columbia. I'm just doing it. Manitoba, Ontario, Quebec. So Quebec, interestingly enough, has had the highest cases of COVID in the region. And then Ontario is next. Mind you, Quebec seems pretty big on the map compared to some other areas, but they've had over 133,000 cases as of November the 23rd. So this is not a situation, folks, where, we should be playing around with this and thinking that, oh, well, yes, our Canadian friends are perfectly A-okay. No, they have a lot of infections there as well. So they come to the Cayman Islands from the onset. November the 13th, the day of arrival, the wife decides to jump the fence and go to the Marriott. The husband walks through the property there at Regal Beach. Both go to the store and the liquor store. Wow. And then fractions continue. Evening walks, sunbathing. Oh, let's go have a sun. Oh, yes, we're here in the Caribbean. Why not? Let's catch a tan. Let's take the trash out on more than one occasion. Let's go swimming in the ocean. Sunset walks hand in hand. Clearly, they did not understand the concept of quarantining. And so this makes me wonder, was it not properly explained to them, or are they just straight up jackasses? Well, the conclusion that we can come to based on the evidence is they are straight up jackasses. In fact, I understand that they're actually leaving the country tomorrow. That's why a court date was rushed for them tomorrow. So they own a property here, but they were not intending to come here, which is really strange as to why they were permitted in to begin with. I don't know what business they had here. I'm really hoping that they were actually coming on island to sell their property, never to be seen and heard from in the Cayman Islands again. Because we don't need people like this. Let me be very, very clear. I'm all for welcoming people to our shores. And I'm all for, if you're the right kind of person, then yeah, come on in. We will gladly show you some Caymanian hospitality. However, if you're not the right kind of person, just because you have money, it does not make you special. And it doesn't mean that we should be turning a blind eye to your ridiculous behavior. And some people feel that way. They think because they have money, they can push their weight around and they can do whatever the hell they want and there will never be any consequences for their actions. Well, in this case, it turns out this couple was absolutely right. There were barely any consequences for their actions. Now, you guys remember just last month or earlier this month, the government had increased the fees for people breaching COVID from $1,000 to 6 months imprisonment up to $10,000 and up to 2 years in jail. So when this couple shows up to court yesterday via Zoom, first of all, they were all prepared to say, oh, we're not guilty. We're going to fight this. Well, let me invite you all to do a little bit of research on this guy, Dr. Pascal. He is a dentist in Canada that over the past 20 years has had some 35 official complaints lodged against him. I can't imagine the people that just couldn't be bothered, right? And the complaints range in nature. Go read him. He's all over the internet. Go read up about him. The complaints range in nature from alleged insurance fraud to having sex with patients. In one case, I think he admitted that, but he said the person was the mother of his patient, not technically his patient. So he was okay with that. What else? Substandard work, performing unnecessary, wrong, or improper treatments. Well, his defense of that is, yeah, well, sometimes you don't really know if a root canal is really needed. So you do it anyway. When you read the Montreal Gazette article that was published some years back, he had some 22 cases and they quoted languishing in a legal quagmire since 2006, accused of billing fraud, faking patient signatures to charge them, patient intimidation. So when a patient would complain, he would intimidate them. And I'm going to explain to you why that sounds just about right based on what we have seen here. Doing substandard work, performing unnecessary work, wrong or improper treatments, and the list goes on and on and on. Over 35 professional complaints against him. He is the type of guy who fights every step of the way, according to a French article. Read it in Google, it'll translate it for you. And he continued to practice. And so one of the articles talking about the failure in the Canadian system, that a man who has been on their radar for this long, who they have sanctioned and provisionally pulled his license on a number of occasions, it takes on average at least 5 years for someone who's doing the wrong things, apparently in the medical profession, to have their license pulled. Well, I thought that was interesting because, you know, Canadians always talk about all the great stuff about their healthcare system. And now I wonder, damn, how many of these types of persons could be falling through the cracks that, in fact, you do not want working on your mouth and working on any other part of you. And they've had so many complaints, but because the Canadian system is so flawed, they continue to operate because they just fight every single complaint. He was called, according to the Quebec Order of Dentists, a menace, this is their quote, menace to public health. And so now they come to the Cayman Islands and they decide that they're going to be a menace to the Caymanian people during the COVID pandemic. So they show up in court, oh, we're not going to plead guilty, we're going to fight this. Well, their lawyers said, really? The CCTV footage is overwhelming. Do not waste the court's time. For that alone, I would have tacked on an extra $5,000 if I was a judge. Seriously. Your intent speaks volumes. But oh no, our judiciary, this is how messed up this is going to fine each of them $1,000 and you be on your merry way. Now, let me put this in context for you. A couple of weeks ago, I was in court and there was a Spanish lady there who had breached COVID restrictions. I can't remember if she was out on her wrong day, but there was some mix-up situation. And so she didn't speak a whole lot of English. They had a translator there. And so the judge was explaining to her, that this is a strict liability situation, really. There's no defense to breaching COVID provisions. You either breached it or you didn't breach it. So if you didn't breach it, is it a case of mistaken identity? Do they have the wrong person? Or did the police claim that you were out on a wrong day when you weren't, because maybe they think your name is X and your name is actually Y? Those are possible defenses. But other than that, it's pretty much a very straightforward situation. You kind of did it. So when she understood really what the judge was saying and that this was the case, she started to cry because this poor woman really does not have the money even to pay. And so the judge said, listen, explain to her in Spanish that I'm going to give her time to pay it. She's obviously going to have to pay it. It is what it is. But, give her time for this to settle in. She was genuinely remorseful and genuinely upset because I don't think she realized even what the COVID breach was entailing when it was happening. Versus people like this who don't give a damn, who don't care, who will get up there and try to fight this like he's been fighting for the past 20 years, all of his dental and professional standards questions and people trying to get him pulled, his license pulled, all that kind of stuff. He's been fighting it, claiming that the authorities are harassing him. Folks, go read the articles. The articles are very, very interesting. I must say, the dude is next level. So what does he do? Now, let me try to make sure we understand what happens here in the Cayman Islands, right? He's in breach numerous times. Him and the wife are in breach. The government decides to pull them up, which took them long enough. They received enough complaints. They finally pull them in, move them to a government facility at the Holiday Inn. Is it the Holiday Inn? And this couple complains, and less than 48 hours later, they are moved back to Regal Beach. Oh, they're not Regal Beach. They're not going to pay the Cayman Islands government. Here's the audacity of these people. And this is where I know that our government don't have the testicular fortitude to handle our business and to put our foot down when we should be. So it's all fine and dandy when a press conference is going on for them to stand up at a press conference. Oh, we're going to be doing this and that. And we're going to enforce it. And you guys can feel safe because we've got the strictest protocols, the strictest systems. Dr. Tasha Garcia, well, Caymanians, you should feel safe because we've got a team and we're pulling employees from Cayman Airways. And we're going to make sure that they are monitoring my, monitoring. Let me tell you something. People have been telling me and people have been concerned for a very long time about what is happening with this so-called monitoring. People are saying to me, we are coming into this facility, we're coming into the island, and there is no monitoring, folks. They're not checking on us. They're not doing these so-called checks. And you know what? Given the number of people that are now here on these bracelets, and they only have a team of 20 people, I kind of have to believe that. It would be strategically and logistically impossible for them to be monitoring everyone every couple hours like they claimed they were going to do. So when they put you in a facility like Regal Beach, the Ritz and all these other places, they're not monitoring you. Nobody's doing any checks. They're not coming by. So after they discovered that this couple had been tampering with their bracelet, they came by on Thursday, replaced the bracelet Thursday night, right? Fitted it back again. Then they moved them to a government facility. I think they were moved like on the Friday. And then by Sunday, they're back at where they were. Why? Because he's the type of person. I'm not going to pay government, $1,000 a night or whatever it is to stay here. It's not $1,000 a night, but I'm not going to pay government to stay at the Holiday Inn. I need to go back to Regal Beach. I'm going to put my foot down. I have rights. Well, you know what? You have a right to be a jackass. And clearly You have exercised that right to the fullest extent possible. Honestly, our government caved in. And so this says volumes about our government and the people that we have enforcing this sort of stuff. Our government caves into them. Why? You know, in some places in the world, breaching COVID restrictions would get you thrown in jail. Well, we have it in our law, but we know they're not going to put nobody in jail for that. They'd put you in jail first for speaking up in this country and for having a voice in your own country. Then they would put you in jail for this. Unbelievable, isn't it? So he gets to throw his weight around in such a spectacular fashion that our government is afraid. Let's have a look again. Our government is afraid to speak up and afraid to have the back of the Caymanian people and afraid to do the right thing. So what do we do instead? We allow this couple to hoodwink us, to harass us. Check out the Louis Vuitton bag, mess with him. Living the most fabulous life because he can push his weight around. Oh, we have money. We have clout. That means that we're more important than anybody else in the universe. And so therefore, we can do whatever we want. We will come to the Cayman Islands. We will breach your provisions. And there's absolutely nothing that you can do about it. How about that, Cayman Islands? You guys are a bunch of donkeys. You're the jackasses for allowing people like us to come in your country and run you over. Well, now, why not? If we're going to allow them to do it, I'm sure if I was rich and privileged and an asshole, a jackass, I too would be doing the exact same thing. Right? You know the saying, people will test your limits and they will do what you allow them to do. This is a perfect example of that. They will do what you allow them to get away with and what you allow them to do. Now, somebody like him, I wish he would go to a place like the Middle East, United Arab Emirates, go try it there. Heck, go try it in Cuba. Because, you know, they would throw you in a jail cell in a hurry and throw the key away. And I dare say a little pretty boy like him probably isn't built for jail either. I mean, we know I'm not built for jail. We've seen those memes going around. But somehow he doesn't look like he probably is either. But his actions sure push the limit. Irvin says it's a criminal offense and they should be jailed. Absolutely. What's the point of saying in a law to fine someone $10,000 and 2 years imprisonment when judges are going to still turn around and give them a slap on the wrist? Now, here's a couple that could well afford the $10,000 each. And guess what, folks? The Cayman Islands needs the money during COVID. We spent enough money on all of this equipment. So why is it then that we can't find them the max? They've jeopardized lives here, folks. Yeah. And here we are giving them a minimum fine. And that is supposed to somehow set an example. That is supposed to be a deterrence to other people doing it. Really, judges? Is that the point here? Is this really a deterrent? Wow. Unbelievable. And Dr. Garcia, I'm still waiting on you to answer my questions for probably well over a month ago. You're busy, obviously not controlling people like this. So I have to wonder, whatever happened to my questions? Reminding me to follow up with government regarding these questions. They just ignored questions. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. So this is our first jackass of the day, folks. Evelyn says, good morning, Jake. We missed you in her best British voice. South Marjorie says, no, honey child. Morning. Very disturbing. And this is what you get with entitled people. Now listen, not every rich person has a sense of entitlement. There's a lot of people with money who are actually very good, humble people. But there are people who think that because they have money, they can do whatever they want, whenever they want, and they don't answer to anybody. Those are the most dangerous kind of people in the world, because we know that money actually does buy you a certain degree of privilege. And when you abuse that and you use that, whoa, who's going to stop you? Who's going to expose you? Well, Cayman Mall Road is here on the job. Thank you for your comments. Let's see some more. Yes, Kizzy, $1,000 should not have even been a possibility. Good morning, Gina. Jake is here. Jake has been busy at work. He said he's been busy meeting some of those deadlines. Karen said they should have to pay the fine and sent back to Canada. Simple. Well, they're going back on their own volition today, apparently. What we should really do, Karen, is make them persona non grata. So you leave and you ain't coming back. You have a property here? Okay, well, we didn't jail you for 2 years, but how about we ensure that you can't return to the Cayman Islands for at least 2 years? Couldn't be that hard to do, folks. Put it in the computer system, stamp it in their passport, see you in 2 years' time. And if you don't like it, too bad. Because this isn't the kind of jurisdiction that you can come into and flaunt yourself all over the place, thump your nose at our rules and our laws and our regulations, and think that it's A-okay and you're going to get away with it. This kind of reminds me, honestly, folks, of, remember the lawyer guy who ran over that elderly couple, and now he's trying to sue every media house in the Cayman Islands because we reported on the story and he's trying to cover up his tracks so he can go to some other jurisdiction and hide out? The Australian guy, yeah, he's suing everybody for simply reporting what he did. The audacity of people like that is very, very disturbing. So Johan says if they were locals, I bet they would not be fined $1,000, but the maximum, the double standards in Cayman are like, whoa. They are like, whoa, trust me. Hashtag stay woke. And it's the same thing that happens time and time again, folks, when a foreigner is found with a firearm in their suitcases, a bullet in their suitcases. In the Cayman Islands, if you're found with those things, it's a mandatory either 7 or 10-year sentence. If you plead guilty early on, they give you the credit of 3 years. So you get a 7-year sentence maximum. I mean, not maximum, 7-year minimum sentence. You're getting 7 years. If you don't plead guilty and you make it go to trial and you go through this whole rigmarole, it's a 10-year sentence. However, when you come to the Cayman Islands and you are a visitor and you come with a firearm in your suitcase, firearms in your shipping containers, all of a sudden, there are a different set of rules by which you operate. So you go to jail and you pay a couple $100 for a bullet. Really? So Caymanians are worth so little to this government that they would rather dispose of us, put legislation in place to lock us up for 7 or 10 years and throw away the key, impacting the Caymanian families who have to rely on that person perhaps for a source of income or whatever, right? It has a trickle-down effect. Those people are removed. Those are fathers. Those are mothers that are removed from their families. And I'm not saying that gun crime should be anything to be taken lightly. What I am saying is if you're going to hold Caymanians to such a standard that is so incredibly strict because of gun violence in the past, fair enough. Why isn't every single person held to the same standard? Why can someone come to our shores and be like, oh yeah, I forgot that semi-automatic in the suitcase. And the judge is like, oh, okay, we understand. We understand how you can pack a suitcase and forget to take out an AK-47. No problem. Here's a $200 fine. We'll see you on your next vacation. Really? That's the standard application of the law? That's the equality in the law? Lady Justice is supposed to be blind for a reason, folks. She wears, well, she's not blind, but she wears blindfolders for a reason, because there's supposed to be this sense of no matter who you are, no matter what your skin color is, no matter how much money you have, Caymanian, not Caymanian, Canadian, American, it shouldn't matter. The law should apply to all equally. But I'm here to tell you that there is not equal application. And this is a perfect example of that. So Diamond Princess says they should face the full force of the law. They're putting the rest of the island in danger, and that should make them pay the fine. They should make them pay the fine and see how many cases they have in Canada. Well, you know, like I said, it's a lot of cases. And so yesterday it was announced that since Friday, test results have come in. We have 4 more positive cases, all asymptomatic, and all of them are travelers who are coming in. So that is a stark reminder. This isn't me just trying to be mean to these people because they have money. God knows. I don't discriminate against people just because they're rich, poor, whatever. I don't really care. But for those of you who think this is just an exercise in lip flapping for no reason, let us be reminded that for the past 2 months since we've reopened our borders, every single case that we've had, with the exception of that anomaly at the primary school, every single case that we've had, even including our second and first deaths, have been people coming back into this country. And so we're taking a chance by letting people in because, oh, they own property here. And we're pre-approving them, doing inspections of property. We claim that our government is doing all of this. The truth of the matter is they are not, folks. Now, I'm not here to criticize the government just for the sake of criticizing the government, because believe me, I understand how difficult their job is. But when you put out a press statement that you say because of this breach, contact tracing will be done, then you need to explain to me why it hasn't been done. Why is it that no one at that facility knows anything about contact tracing yet? You don't know where exactly these people were going. You have enough footage to know, okay, they breached it at least 15 times, but who knows what else they were up to? So one person made the observation, the government is giving people in hospitality $1,000 a month to help them with lost revenue. While the majority appreciate that this is not enough, there's enough for the people handing out, this is enough for people handing out flyers in town that used to make minimum wage. But for the people out there making over $2,500, this is an insult. Lots of people have lost their livelihood due to COVID. And by the looks, tourism isn't coming back anytime soon. Some people's monthly expenses are more than the government stipend, and it is still not enough to survive. If you go to NAU, they tell you to look for a job. How can someone find a job when there's over 10,000 people registered with Works? We can talk about that. Jackass number 2 coming up here in a second. And permits are still being accepted daily. Cayman isn't for Caymanians. The judge should have given them the maximum in order to not have it repeated in the future. And they plainly did not respect our islands. And because of idiots like them, the airport will remain closed longer and Caymanian tourism workers will continue to suffer. Well, there's absolutely nothing in that comment that I can argue with. So government puts them in a government facility, and less than 48 hours later, because they're throwing a hissy fit, They moved back to exactly where they were conducting all the breaches. Right. Absolutely amazing. Someone else commented, I'm disgusted by all of this. The government isn't truthful and is only for the rich. Who is he to say he's not paying the nightly rate because he was in breach? Huh. He sure did say that. And the government gave in, conceded. Imagine. Unbelievable. Wow. Another person said, and the government lied about contact tracing. Lied about doing checks. Another person who has gone through the program and has, they did home quarantining, but they're good humanitarian people who are going to stay in when they say they're going to stay in. They said, yeah, you see, this is the kind of crap that really ticks me off. So-and-so and I, that's their partner, came back here and more than abided by the rules. I would never want my elderly parents or anyone else to get this virus. They come in here like they're above the law and they're white, so they got to be right. Talking about white privilege, that's alive and well right here in the Cayman Islands. And I know for sure that those high-priced phones and bracelets are totally useless. Well, they should know because they use them. This person says, name and shame them, yes. Happy you put their names and pictures out there. We've got criminals hiding out down here, and this government is welcoming them with open arms. All they want is money. If they were any good, they'd be back in their own country, making their millions and behaving themselves. Who do they think they are that the poor locals have to abide by the law and these big money people don't? Totally sick of it now. These are some of the comments that we've been receiving. And it's ridiculous, but I tell you what, this is what it is. Somebody else says, you should send a copy of the article to the Canadian newspapers about his ass. Let them expose him further. These effing people all think they're better than the rest of the world. Always some issue with their asses around here. Melita, thank you for your comment. Paula, thank you so much for joining in. By the way, folks, Paula is missing her little dog. Paula, I can't remember your dog's name, but we did post it on our page again yesterday. We are hopeful that you found your dog. The dog looks so much like Coco. I had to do the pretty serious one. Sorry, I just clicked on that. I had to do a double take. So Paula's dog went missing on Saturday evening in the Reverend Blackman's Road area of West Bay. And I know sometimes these little dogs can be like little Houdinis. So I'm asking you please to keep an eye out for Paula's dog. Remind us of his or her name. I think it's sure it's a her. And I know how much these little dogs can be a part of your family. So Paula says that violating any instructions provided to you when you entered Canada or failing to provide accurate information is an offense under the Quarantine Act and could lead up to 6 months in prison and or, $750,000 in fines. That's more like it. If you choose to break your mandatory quarantine or isolation and resulting in the death or serious bodily harm of another person, you could face a fine of up to $1 million or imprisonment of up to 3 years or both. Well, at least they have some good numbers on the books. Thank you for sharing that, Paula. We appreciate it. Here's Paula's little family, furry family member. Isn't he cute? She looks just like Coco. They're very, very similar. Of course, as pet owners, we can see the difference. But she's missing, folks, in the Reverend Blackman area. So please, if you see her, contact Paula and her family, because obviously they love and miss her a lot. I'm just going to stick the little, hold on one second. Let me just stick the number here for you guys to contact. And we'll put it up a little bit later on in the program, just as a reminder. Thanks, Paula. Mary says, thank you. And my previous post just said that. We don't need people like that here. No regard for laws or people. Well, actually, proof of when you have money, what happens here. I'm totally baffled at what happened, and they just got away with it. And after whining, they get their way about their accommodations. That's the most shocking part, Mary. It's not shocking that these people think they're above the law. I mean, like I said, look at their track history, and you will see this is the norm for them. But it is shocking that our people are so weak. We have no backbone. Our government has no backbone. Mary continues. So just in case our government didn't do their due diligence prior to approving anything for him, I hope after all of this has now come to light that he's not allowed to take up residence. And unfortunately, the comment is cut off at that point. Good morning, Sai. Asu, and they gave him PR here, probably. He probably soon be premier. That's what they do, what they want, and they don't care, so need to revoke it now. Mary Jean says that she thinks he used to work in Cayman. Well, that wouldn't surprise me. I wouldn't be surprised by that one bit. And in fact, he'll probably go and open up a new practice here very soon. Magdalene, thank you so much. Yeah, Magdalene reminds us about the ankle bracelet fiasco. Let's not forget how well that worked out for prisoners years ago. Yep. You know, Magdalene, when they first talked about this bracelet idea, that came to mind, and I actually had a bit of a discussion about it. In case those of you do not remember, years ago, we discovered that prisoners were actually very good. People in police custody were very, very good at maneuvering these so-called bracelets, anchor bracelets, to the point where they could take them off and the police were not the wiser. And the way that they discovered that this was actually happening was a prisoner ended up breaking into the home of an elderly couple in Georgetown. And that man happened to have been a gun owner. And he shot and killed the repeated offender. He was always breaking into people's homes. He just went to the wrong home that night, and the poor little old man had a gun and shot and killed him. And so when he shot and killed him, we all discovered that this guy is supposed to be on house arrest. It's supposed to be monitored by the authorities. Well, lo and behold, it was discovered that, whoa, he's not the only one who's been doing it, but they had figured out a way to remove the bracelets, to stop the bracelets from communicating with the Central Command Center, and they were out and about committing all sorts of crimes. Well, his digits were up on that particular day. He's now deceased. Paula says they should be deported, status revoked, PR revoked. That's what we'd be facing if we breached it in Canada. Truly a menace. They should notify the necessary health practitioners and boards and medical societies when a doctor conducts themselves in this way during a pandemic. Thank you, Paula. That's actually a wonderful idea. Because if he has such little regard for the health of other people during a pandemic, well, I was going to say he probably wouldn't have little regard for his patients, but clearly based on the multiple license revocations and 35 plus complaints and back and forth with the dental board in Canada. That's already probably well proven, right? Doss says the fine amount in prison time should be no less than $500,000 or 10 years imprisonment. The cost of someone breaking quarantine and spreading it are way too much. Could possibly mean a life. Yes. Unbelievable. So before we move on to our next jackass of the day, I'm just trying to go through some of your comments, and there's a lot of them. Diamond says they should have forced them to stay in the government facility. Yes. And you know what? When you have to go into a government facility, which is already pretty much maxed out, because you have breached, I say double pay. You should be paying the same rate as everybody else anyway. Kizzy says they'll probably take you to court for harassment. Yes, child, we know this already. And we're also aware that our little Canadian friend, Mrs. Darlene Oku, she's from Saskatchewan, by the way. She is the bulldog at the DPP's office that they'll be sooking on me yet again. And I'm sure she'd be all too happy, my dear child. So on Thursday, Kizzy, we find out my fate in that case. So you guys come on out. I'll be reporting after the sentencing hearing, of course. I've got a few people who are going to be giving live testimony, and the judge has also been provided with over 60, I think it was 64, 65 references in the end. Darlene says it's all who you are. I bet a poor Jamaican or any other country, they would have been well monitored. They probably would have never gotten approval in the first place. Linda reminds us that they should have been fined separately for every breach. And that's the thing. Linda, you are 1,000% correct. That's actually what the law says. Every breach is an infraction. And so the judge didn't even say, okay, well, I'm going to fine you $1,000, but per breach. It was just $1,000, which is probably a night out for dinner for this couple. No big deal. It's unbelievable. It really is unbelievable. Yep. Irvin says if it was me or you, we'd be locked up, fined, the key would be thrown away. Irvin says that's why I love this show so much, because it exposes the dirt on the jackasses. Well, you know, it's unfortunate that we even have to do it. Because, you know, government, last week we contacted the police because we had received a tip that there were 4 Spanish nationals who were out and about who were supposed to be in quarantine. We asked the police, this is what we're hearing. Is there any truth to this? The police said they've not received any such reports. The person actually said, whoever these individuals were, they were actually arrested and picked up by the police. So maybe it was something else. I'm not going to call the police liars because they know better than to lie to me, because eventually it's going to come out. So maybe there was some confusion and my source saw them getting arrested and whatever, but it was something unrelated to COVID. I don't know. We've heard of other people. Oh, well, this COVID person, I've seen photos, outside exercising. How is that permissible? So there is an underlying sense that this couple definitely went overboard, but they're probably not the only ones. And so the bigger question in my mind is how effective, it's not about trying to pick on these people, although, you know, their case needs to be highlighted for good reason. But the bigger question is how effective is the system really working? And if this is a phased approach, and in December and January, we're going to talk about letting more people in. We have 6 more BA flights that are coming in December and January. And God knows every BA flight that is coming in is top heavy. The plane like loaded down. You can see her screeching on the runway. Heavy like I don't know what. It's going to drop because she has so many people, so many passengers, so much luggage. Because let's face it, if I'm living in Canada with over 300,000 cases, or I'm in the UK who is on lockdown now until December the 2nd, or I'm in the US that has had over 160,000 cases in a single 24-hour period. The deaths are increasing. The hospitals are saying they're running out of beds. Their medical staff, nurses and doctors are quitting their professions because they can't take any more. The government has done a horrible job handling the pandemic, especially in America. If I live in that country and I have a home in the Cayman Islands, I've got an option. Even if it's Cayman Brac, I'm like, hell to the yes, I'm leaving. This past Friday, we had people come into Cayman Brac and they're now self-quarantining, home quarantining. Remember how the premiere was going on during the COVID pandemic? We got to protect the Brac and Little Cayman. They have such a larger proportion of their population that are elderly that this pandemic could be devastating to those countries. To those islands, my apologies. We're all one country. Of course it would be devastating. It'd be devastating to all of us here. And, you know, we are allowing people in to go to Cayman Brac. And now the question becomes, if you ain't handling your business on Grand Cayman, how much faith can we have in what's going to happen on Cayman Brac? Who's monitoring people on the Brac? Because we know on the Brac, they do things a little bit differently there. Everybody wants to go and hang out at the bar. And who's really going to be watching these people? The whole system is undermined when we see a case like this. The whole system becomes questionable. It becomes weak. John wants to know what's the best area in Cayman to live. Well, it depends on how you define the best. Some people like beachfront. Some people never live on the beach. So that's a very arbitrary question that I guess it just depends on who you are and what you're into. Mary says, and to only be charged $1,000 for numerous breaches, tell them to go to Canada or somewhere else. Imagine they started this from the first day that they arrived. That's right. And they didn't know better. They wouldn't have been jumping a fence. They knew what they were doing. Most likely they would be allowed back and maybe get a job if they applied too. Well, child Mary. Let's go on to our Jackass story number 2, since we're talking about jobs. Because they probably could have applied to the computer services department and got hired. Here we go, Cayman. This now is where I just have to shake my head. How does it happen? This was our second Jackass story of the day yesterday. The government has numerous departments, agencies. And, you know, some years ago, there was like a central HR function to government. And then somebody told government, nope, that isn't working very well. It's too much. Government is too big. In fact, government would do better with decentralizing certain functions. So, yes, that sounded like a good idea. You know, government has thousands. Government is actually the largest employer on the island. So at the end of the day, if you have like, you know, I don't know, let's just take the HSA. That is an agency, but they have almost, I think, 1,000 employees of their own. It's hard to just have a single HR department that's going to manage, you know, all of government, thousands of workers. So this decentralization sounds like a good idea. You know, the HR team can have a better grapple of their departments. They get to know staff better. They can know the positions better. that they're hiring for, et cetera, et cetera. And, Paula, I didn't know your little one's name was Coco too. Oh my gosh, that breaks my heart even more. Oh, little Coco's missing. Folks, please, if you live in West Bay, keep an eye out for Coco. If you accidentally picked Coco up, which I know some of you would do that, please bring Coco back home. Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine. I would be in tears right now. So I totally understand how you're feeling, Paula. So yes, government was decentralized and the whole works. And so, they manage their own HR affairs. So the Computer Services Department has a man in charge by the name of, hold on one second. Let me tell you what his name is. His name is Simon Spears. He was appointed the Director of Computer Services in 2016. Let's just get a little visual of Simon here. As is usually the case, Cayman cannot find Caymanians for these jobs. So this one we've imported in from the UK. All right, no worries. We got you, Simon. So we brought him in. And then yesterday I started receiving these messages that said, Sandy, have you seen this government job being advertised? Now, to be honest, I hadn't seen it yet because I'm not scrolling government jobs because God knows they're not going to be hiring any of us. So I said, no, I haven't seen it. Yesterday was quite a busy news day. And then somebody else messages me and says, hey, Sandy, have you seen this job? They said, check this out. Catch the wording. We have an existing opportunity for senior business analysts to live and work in the beautiful Cayman Islands in the Caribbean. So immediately you get the feeling and understanding, not you. This is what this person sends me. And I'm like, oh my God. Can you imagine the audacity of not one, but multiple people actually writing this and reviewing it? And then what happens? Somebody thought that this was okay for publication on a government website? Like, are you for real? Nah, this is crazy. This is really crazy. The only reason you would word a job advert in this particular manner is if you are enticing someone to come from overseas and apply for this job making $61,000 to almost $70,000 per year. An exciting opportunity to live and work in the beautiful Cayman Islands. So what if you already live here and you work here because you're a Caymanian? That is your opening line, folks. That's the first thing they say. We have an exciting opportunity to live and work in the beautiful Cayman Islands. Senior business analyst. Wow. Unbelievable. Just a couple days ago, last week, Monday, quite ironically, I did an entire show on how a young lady by the name of Sylvia Wilkes, who's working on her doctorate, was passed up for decision with the Case Foundation, an agency that she had previously worked for 6 years, left on good terms, left in a supervisory capacity, a job becomes available for senior counselor, and she gets passed up for the opportunity for someone who was a nail tech, who has a nail tech certificate. That's their background. They've never worked in a home before. They've never worked with children before. None of that. Until some friend of theirs gave them a job in this facility. Allegations are somebody screwing somebody. I don't care who's screwing who, except I know one thing for sure. We, the people of the Cayman Islands, are the ones who are ultimately getting screwed. And it's not the kind of screwing that you're going to be writing anybody about saying, wow, I had a great time. We are getting screwed out of opportunities, folks. We're getting screwed out of the opportunity to support our Caymanian families. Government still offers full pension payments, full health insurance coverage. So when you see this $61,000, that's over $5,000 a month. That is take-home money, folks. Nothing ain't coming out of that. And so someone thought it was okay to advertise, plainly stating that we are recruiting for someone who is looking to enjoy some sun and fun in the Cayman Islands. Really now. This person says, and we're always talking about posts, but here's government themselves letting you know to live and work in the beautiful Cayman Islands in the Caribbean, and think people not educated enough to read between the lines. Listen to me. You don't have to read between the lines. This is in your face. This is obvious. This is blatant. This is, we don't want you. It's ridiculous. Magdalene says, yet government is giving scholarships for IT. Makes no sense to me. Damn shame. As far as I know, these jobs are advertised internally first, and the Caymanians within government not objecting to this. Let me tell you what's happening to the Caymanians in government, Magdalene. They're so happy to have a job, any job, that even when they are being disenfranchised, they sit back and they sign off on this kind of foolishness. Now, there was a lot going on with the new fire chief recently getting an extension on his contract, and government made a point of saying, but all of his deputies, which are Caymanians, signed off on this. That's because they're scared. They want to keep their jobs. They're kissing ass. They don't want any repercussions of saying we need to stand up and speak out. Caymanians are so afraid in our own country. We allow this to happen, folks. Our leaders allow it to happen. They allow your voice to mean nothing. And every time we sit back, Magdalene, and we allow this to happen, we get what we get for a reason. So how can government set the rules about hiring qualified Caymanians first when they themselves are in breach? Honestly, how can we be saying to private entities, to private companies, oh yes, you must follow these laws, you must do this, you must do that. And sadly, our own government is up to this kind of shenanigan. And I've told you many other examples. This ain't the first time. We have a whole slew of examples, folks, of where government continues to do this to us day in and day out. And we, the people of the Cayman Islands, accept it like it's just another day in paradise. That is the biggest problem here. Honestly, how can this be okay? The Computer Services Department should be ashamed of themselves. I don't know if Mr. Spears, Simon Spears is his name, he's head of the Computer Services Department. If he is the one who drafted this, if he signed off on this, I don't know, and I almost can tell you, I don't even care. But this is unacceptable. This would have been viewed by multiple people. Now, someone sent us some information on the HR assistant and whoever who would have drafted this, but let me be very clear here, folks. They're just the little minions doing whatever it is that they're told to do. And so, once again, the Cayman Islands government showing us how much they care to hire locals and Caymanians during a pandemic of all things. We are in the middle of it, folks. Government is, on the one hand, good, trying to help small businesses, all of these initiatives, paying out millions of dollars to help keep the economy afloat. Our GDP is going to take a lick. And then on the other hand, we see something like this. It just blows my mind. It makes no sense. It's like 2 steps forward, you take 50 steps backwards with an advert like this. Someone else who works for government said, read the first sentence. I mean, really? Yep. Really. Really. Wow. Unbelievable. So after we highlighted it, look at what happened. The job is gone. This job does not exist. Well, I sure hope now, not only will they rewrite it properly, but I sure hope that they will actually seriously reconsider how this was done in the first place. Listen to me. There are a lot of qualified Caymanians in this country for this job. I am well versed in the world of IT in terms of workers. The senior business analyst. Let me see if I captured any more of the job description before they took it down. I don't think it required a master's even. So you've got options, folks, to apply for this job. Like I said, they've taken it down, so who knows now when it will reappear and what it will look like. I don't know if they're going to change the name on the job or what they're going to do. But we have Caymanians right here that can do this job without blinking an eye. So Linda says that they prefer to import workers so they can do what they're told to do to be able to live in Cayman. Magdalene says this is the world-class civil service. Yeah, poor France. I know France really tries, and he's trying to make it a world-class civil service, but you need to rein in these people of France. Everyone needs to understand. But you see, the problem is when you promote certain people and you then say, oh, well, you know, it's okay for us to never have our own fire chief who's Caymanian despite their years of experience. When this happens, how can you have anything to say, really? I didn't grab the bottom of this, which talked about the qualifications, but I did look at it. And it wasn't anything earth-shattering. So yes, folks, the job has disappeared. from government's website. We'll definitely be keeping an eye on it to see if it reappears. It says the job does not exist. Well, clearly it existed. You can't undo these things, folks. We got the screenshots. Karen, they think we're fooled. You're absolutely right about that. And some of us are fools because we keep voting the same jackasses back in office, folks. And none of them are standing up saying this is wrong. That's the thing that really gets me. That's the part that I really am most concerned and worried about. How do we operate in a country where this sort of thing, these sort of injustices are happening, and we seem to think that somehow that is okay? It's not okay. And the more Caymanians sit back and allow it to happen and not lend their voice to these issues, well, of course, the more they're going to do it. Ay, ay, ay. Unbelievable. So yesterday was a bit of a record for our jackasses of the day. 2 in one day. Boy, there's a lot of that going around, huh? Let's take a quick commercial break, folks. We got more to talk about. We've got a few more minutes left in the program, about 20 minutes left. And trust me when I tell you, we are not done. Here we go. Hey, folks, welcome back. So, what a hot mess. Get it together, jackasses. We really can't take anymore. We've got to look out for each other in this country. We have so many issues facing us. You know, yesterday we ran an article on the organization called Plastic Free Cayman. These are young people who care about the environment. And, speaking of the first jackasses, someone confirmed that they actually have a property at Regal Beach, and they're total asses. Well, they're nice, but they don't live by the rules, obviously. Well, that makes them jackasses. So someone who knows a little bit more about them was just able to confirm that in a private message. Yeah, I figured as much. None of that surprises me. Good morning, Donovan. How are you? So, Plastic Free Cayman is out and about, and, they are trying their most to highlight environmental issues, pollution in particular. So they are always on the beaches, picking up garbage, picking up debris, and trust me, it runs the gamut. So over the weekend, they spent Saturday and Sunday out doing a cleanup, and they collected over 822 pounds of garbage in just 2 areas, basically on our beachfront, on our shoreline. Wow, folks, that is a lot of garbage. And it's not all us, to be fair. So yes, we've heard about the vials of blood. We don't know where this stuff is coming from. It doesn't have any labels on it. So it could very well be the case that it is not even here in the Cayman Islands. We've had a number of very powerful hurricanes in the last couple of weeks in the area. And those things tend to push garbage out in the ocean, and it shows up because of the wave action on our shoreline. So I want to take off my hats this morning to all of the hundreds of people. There's over 100 people that went out and volunteered with this organization, Plastics Free Cayman. They have a website. Please go check it out. They're doing a lot of wonderful things in the community that we should all be supporting. They're asking the government to try to make more of an initiative in terms of, moving Cayman closer to having a plastic-free policy, especially when it comes to single-use plastics. So, a lot of places in the world, if something is a single-use plastic, all the styrofoam and whatever, it is actually banned. And there are places in the Caribbean who are starting to finally get on board and ban single-use plastics. Now, the irony of it is, you guys know our friend Uncle Dart. His family empire was built on single-use plastics. That's the business that they started out and how they made their millions, their initial millions. And then they diversified, have gotten into everything else. But, the little containers that say Dart in the bottom, as far as I know, they had like the biggest styrofoam business in the world. But those days have come and gone when we cannot think about the environment and the impact that it is having on our lives. So thank you to Plastic Free Cayman for all of your efforts. Thank you. Every single weekend, these young folks are going out there, picking up debris, picking up garbage off of our shoreline, off of our beaches. And imagine these are the same beaches that we're trying to lure tourists in with. Oh, we have the most beautiful beaches in the world, but apparently we also have very polluted beaches. So I ask that you likewise take your hat off to them, contact them, go Google them. They've got a social media presence, and see if you can volunteer and help out this organization, because they always need volunteers. That's how they survive, with volunteers. So there's a couple other things. The fire service did a charity walk yesterday. So let me take my hats off to them as well. They raised over $5,000 for the Cayman Islands Crisis Center. Well done. I love this. And I've got a picture here I'll pull up in a second. There they are. This is after their walk. They were here at the governor's residence, taking a photo in the front. So kudos and hats off to them. All men, we should make a note of. Good job. I don't know if we have any women fire officers anymore. Do we have any? I think at one point we had one or two. I'm not sure that they're still there. This is a male-dominated profession, I must say. So thank you guys so much for standing up in this way, raising money for the crisis center. I'm sure they could use it. Okay, in other news yesterday, let's turn to the political front a little bit. We were talking yesterday morning about the rumor mill and some of the persons who were intended to run for public office. So funny enough, during the show, we got a little nugget that the premier's assistant, political assistant, was going to run. This is a political appointment. Basically, it's someone that he feels like, oh yeah, this person is grassroots, they're in the community, so let me give them a job, because then that'll show the grassroots people that I care about them and I got their back. And he's one of us, he's from Georgetown Central, blah, blah, blah. Well, he has political aspirations of his own. Here he is. This is Mr. Frank Cornwall Jr. And there he is in his nice office in the government building. So yes, the political assistant gets a government office, government phones, and access to email and the whole 9 yards. They're the premier's right-hand individual. Here he is previously with when Kenneth Bryan used to be part of the Progressives. And I think that's David. There is a way for me to tell the twins apart when I see them in person, because one of them has a facial feature that's actually very different than the other one. So I believe that this is David and Frank. Happier times when Kenneth was a member of the PPM. And here they are again, shaking hands. They were at some PPM function, looks like. Now here's the irony of the situation. Frank is out and about. And canvassing. And look at this photo. Look at this photo he took last year. Standing in front of the parking spot of the Georgetown Central representative at the LA. And a tongue-in-cheek photo. And he captioned it about hard work. I think the man was trying to say from then, Kenneth, you might have been my friend. You might have been my comrade. But guess what? You might have been my compadre. But I am coming for you, Georgetown Central. What a heat. Plastic Free Cayman. Did I get the name wrong, Linda? So there's Plastic Free Cayman and Protect Our Future Youth Organization. Thank you, Linda. So yes, Frank is gearing up for the May 2021 election. Mess with him. It's going to take a lot more than that. Thank you, Darlene. They're going to have to come hard and strong to take Kenneth out of Central. And this ain't it. Frank, you not hard nor strong. So take 2 seats, my brother. And go relax yourself. Continue to be the premier's political assistant for a little bit longer. You've got a job until at least May. And then after that, you know, he can't hire you again because he's no longer eligible to be premier. No, Odell, please. This is like taking candy from a baby. This ain't going to be no good showdown. They need to come better than this. But I guess they're going to try. There's no word from the PPM. They've not responded to our questions about whether or not they're actually endorsing him as a candidate as yet. We will have to wait and see. Yeah, so we'll see how that turns out. Oh, yeah, not him. Yeah, the whole election is going to be very interesting. And as you guys know, we are your election headline. Trust me. We're getting all the sus, all the news. So another nugget that we got yesterday was that Roydell Carter is planning to make a run for it. So we don't know yet where Roydell is running. Some people said Newlands. Other people contacted me and said, no, it's going to be East End. So we don't have a fix yet on exactly where Roydell is running, but it looks like he is going to be running. So that's going to be interesting. I don't know if I have a preference as to where he runs. East End is a fairly small district, so to have more than 2 people running in East End kind of doesn't make much sense. But you know, running in Newlands, having 4 or 5 people doesn't make much sense either. So we shall see. So we're going to keep you guys updated on all election happenings. That's the latest SUFS that's on the roadway right now, on the Mall Road, literally. And we'll see how that goes. So in court news, you guys will find this interesting. You guys remember the guy who molested the 12-year-old child? And we talked about it here in the program. We're going to be doing an updated story on that today. They're not allowing us to see the file. We were waiting in the file since last week. And the court has shut down the files, so we can't see it. This is interesting. First time we've seen this happen. But rest assured, we don't actually need a court file to get information. Trust and believe that. That's how we knew, before he even turned himself into the police, what he had done. And we will continue to report on the court hearings and the court matters. We'll be watching the list with a very keen eye to see when he will be in court next. And we will reveal everything except any information that could identify the victim. 11-year, she's 11 or 12. This one is a 12-year-old. Yes. There's two right now that are going on. One is an 11-year-old, one is a 12-year-old. Dirty bastard. Anyway, there he is. 12-year-old, 11-year-old. Big, hard back men going after little girls. And somehow they thought that we wouldn't be on this like white on rice. No, sir. So both of them have been granted bail, by the way. So we're going to put that story up again about the first one. He was granted bail, but we were waiting on the court file, so we kind of didn't report on it yet. But now that we know we won't be able to see the court file, well, we're going to tell you what we're going to tell you. And it is what it is. Folks, I think that's all we've got right now for you. We are still waiting on the elections office to get back to us. We've not yet heard back from them, despite our emails and phone calls, and I even stopped by in person on Friday. So we are still waiting to hear from them. I'll do a follow-up email today. And, we've got a couple of things that are in the news this morning. So we'll be chasing a few stories for you. The Turtle Farm story, they appeared before the Public Accounts Committee last week. We need to dissect that appearance and talk about some of the things that came out as a result of that. There's obviously several criminal cases that are very much live in relation to someone or persons that they allege have stolen from the Turtle Farm. So we've got to keep a keen eye on that case to see how that progresses. Alice says, why were they granted bail to continue to do what they did? We'll talk about that perhaps tomorrow, Alice. Actually, no, today is Tuesday. So we do have an evening show today. So don't forget, 7 p.m. Tuesdays and Thursdays, we have an evening show. So please tune back in. Tomorrow, we'll have our Caribbean Connection Wednesday. We had a fabulous show last week. In case you missed it, we had Jackie Carpenter from the Miami Herald join us. Jackie covers, I'm starting to get a little bit congested here, but Jackie covers all of the English-speaking Caribbean. So she always has very interesting insight into what is happening. Thank you, Darlene, for tuning in. Big shout out to all of the CMR Massive crew. I know some of you guys are in Jamaica, in the States, in the UK. We appreciate you guys. I don't know if Barbara's here. Barbara's in Paris. So I appreciate you guys always tuning in and keeping it locked here to your go-to podcast spot in the mornings and Tuesday evenings and Thursday evenings. We appreciate the love and support. So just a word to all the jackasses out there. Stop being a jackass. It cannot be that difficult, folks. Really, really and truly. Everyone in West Bay, please keep an eye out for Coco. Coco is missing. And the number scrolling on your screen is if you see Coco anywhere about, she went missing in the Reverend Blackman Road area of West Bay or anywhere in that vicinity. She could be scared and just hiding out in the bushes somewhere. Sometimes they're just so friendly. They'll just run up to you, run into your house. Catherine, I think, made a joke earlier. She's like, they'll come and arrest you for stealing this dog. Well, poor Coco. Hopefully she'll be found. And yeah, stealing someone's dog is the last thing that I would ever advocate and that I would personally ever do. That would be like stealing somebody's child. That's why when they first came at me 10 years ago now with that ridiculous case, I said to them at the time, you guys obviously do not know me. Like, I would never steal somebody's dog. Like, that is insulting. That's like I said, stealing somebody's child. Like, who does that? So many dogs are neglected in this country that when you find dogs like this Coco and my Coco who really have a good home, sometimes they get out. My Coco does it on occasion. She goes for a stroll and she strolls a little bit too far. Thankfully, in the new neighborhood, she doesn't have any other dogs trying to kill her. But, you know, she might be gone for a couple hours and I'm out and about yelling her name all over the neighborhood. Coco, come back. She eventually comes back. She just likes to go strolling. And so sometimes they do that. So you got to keep an eye out for this Coco, please, to help bring her back home to her family. All right, West Bay folks, appreciate your love and support as always. Thanks to our corporate sponsors who make it possible for us to continue to do what we do here on Cayman Mall Road. Big shout out to Miracle Brokers. Did you know that they are the island's #1 importers of cars? So if you're looking to bring in your vehicle, what better way to do that than to use an agency like Miracle Brokers? They've got all the best experience in the world. They know what they're doing. They do it thousands of cars per year. Big shout out to our friends over at Popeyes and Burger King. Stop in there for a little snack. Grab some lunch every once in a while. And big shout out to Roquet as well. Check out this totally funny commercial.
So you're saying I can ask this cat any question?
The cat is connected to the computer. You just type in the question, it will read his mind. There the answer comes.
You're the man! I've been looking for this for weeks.
Thank you for tuning in to another edition of The Cold Hard Truth. Make sure to check Facebook for showtimes and more information and the latest news at CaymanMarlRoad.com. Subscribe to our IG and Facebook pages to get the latest happenings.